All right, a few months ago, I had a really great opportunity to work with Marc Spagnuolo to record a course for his WoodWhisperer Guild. If you don't know what the WoodWhisperer Guild is, it is an online woodworking course designed to teach you how to build fine furniture. So the course that I taught was how to build this Japanese-inspired end table. If you're interested in building this end table, there will be a link in the description below to where you can purchase the full course. And in the full course, we go through an in-depth video process of how to build this table, and a full set of plans is included as well. So what you're about to see is just a cut down version to kind of give you an idea of what that course is going to look like. So I hope you like it, and I hope you will come join me over at the WoodWhisperer Guild and take the full course and build a Japanese-inspired end table for yourself. When I pick out my lumber, I don't generally pick it out by how many board feet I need. I pick it out by what grain I like. Now with that grain being tight grain like that, the seam pretty much disappears. So now I need to cut the panel to width, and my final width is 13 inches and I want my seam to be fairly centered, so I'm going to cut about a ½ inch off each side. All right, so this little ridge right here, left over from the table saw cut, I'm just going to clean it up with a couple of swipes of the plane. And then I'll just work my way around, working through the grits. All right, these legs are going to eventually get a little bit of a taper on it, but before we do that, I want to cut the joiner in it. So I'm going to joint this edge and then rip this edge parallel so I have good, clean surfaces to work off of to lay out my joinery. Square up one end on all of them, flip them over, and then cut them to length using the stop on the next one. All right, so I have 4 of my rails here, so I'm going to cut it in half, and I'm going to joint one edge, cut to parallel on the table saw, and then cut these in square. All right, so I snuck up on the fit, and then once I was satisfied with the fit on just the tip, I cut the rest of the dado. All right, and then if you didn't get it nice and smooth there, you can just use a chisel to clean that edge up. All right, so now that we have this angle established, I'm going to cut the front and back rails here. I'm going to do the same thing as before. I like this tight grain, so I'm going to cut one side of the rail off of this side and then the back rail off of this side. I'm going to put a stop here to make sure both aprons come out the same size. All right, so this mortise is gonna intersect with this mortise, so I'm just gonna measure in this distance, and that's how long I'm gonna cut my tenons. All right, so we'll do a little test fit here to make sure everything is in the right order. All right, so I got a piece of 1/2-inch plywood that we're gonna make the template for the arch. I'm gonna put it in my vise to make sure it's level. To find the curve, we're gonna use what's called a Cantenary Curve, which is produced by gravity. So I'm just gonna use the chain to follow gravity to a curve that I like. I've ripped a piece that's going to be our fence, and so I'm just gonna glue this guy down on my line here. And then these guys are gonna hold our workpiece in place. So I just glued in a stop here so I can just quickly orient my workpieces in there. I'm gonna make sure I have the curve of the grain going the right direction. Lock it down and just trace this. And we'll cut the majority of it out with the bandsaw and then clean it up with the pattern bit at the router table. All right, so now I'm just gonna gently mark across here a couple of times just to follow that shape, not pressing too hard so I don't slip out of alignment. Go over to this side, and we'll mark the top. All right, I'm just gonna transfer lines down just a little ways here, and then mark my depth. This is set to 3/8 of an inch. This is 3/4 of an inch, so half of that will inset down into there. So this is basically going to be a half lap joint. All right, see how we did. All right, so I have to do this 3 more times on these guys. So I'll do it on this guy and then on the other side. So now we're going to move on to taking care of these lower stretchers. We're going to put a little arch in the bottom of these and then punch back through on our mortises there. Now I'll just drop this through the hole, and that bit should, that pattern should just follow my mortise and cut it out for me. So now I'm going to taper this leg just a little bit. So I'm going to mark in about 1 inch and then set up my tapering jig to rip this face off. All right, to attach the top, I'm going to use the domino and just cut 2 slots arbitrary distance from the ends on the longest rail. Basically that'll go into this slot and then put a screw in there to the top to hold it down. So we're down to our last bit of details, and I'm going to cut these guys right here. And so I marked one angle, and I'll use the miter saw to line this angle up, and then each time I'll just start at the bottom of my curve on each one. So when I cut this guy, I'll start at the bottom of the curve. All right, so I got all my parts laid out and kind of how they're going to go together to make sure I have the right angles matching up and the right tenons matching each one. So before I assembled these guys, I took some time to sand this guy smooth so it looks nice and clean. And now I'll go ahead and assemble the rest of the piece. All right, so I've gone around and sanded all of the joints and all my little corners and touched up anything that I thought was could be problematic or that I wasn't really happy with. We're ready for some finish. The finish I like to use is any kind of spray finish, like a conversion varnish is one of my favorites. It just lays out real flat. Spray finishing really gets into the corners without any issue. It's really why I like it. All right, we got our finish on here, so now just time to attach the top. Take a couple measurements to center it up. All right, there we go. If you want to know more about the work I do in general, you can go to my website, benhamdesignconcepts.com.